there are certain things that are fixed for the time being. Jamaica is a parliamentary democracy, but we still have the Queen as our head of state, and now Charles is our head of state. So, if the Queen is the head of state and the Queen dead, then the protocols that are observed when the Queen dies, the government would have no choice but to observe those protocols, right? So what Andrew was saying is really, this now should remind us that, well, we are not really independent, we're still governed by the Queen and the King of England. We are still a Commonwealth country, which simply means that even though we are allowed to carry on our affairs, we still answer to the Queen. Well, no, we still answer to the British throne. Full stop. So that is what we need to understand. So there's no point in complaining, say, Andrew, Monday, 12 days of mourning. It's like if your boss, if you go and apply for a job, get the job, and they say you work from 9 to 5, you have to work from 9 to 5, full stop. All right, so it up. You can't complain about it. So insofar as we still retain the British monarch as the head of state, then we will just have to follow the protocols that comes with that, and that is exactly what the Prime Minister is doing. So we need to understand that if we are Wagwan natural beauty, if we are not in agreement with what is happening, then it is our responsibility to ensure that it is changed. That aside, I was having a conversation yesterday. So there were two separate conversations. One yesterday, one this morning. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with a co-worker. And this morning, I was having a conversation with my sister. And as you see the title of the thing there, it says economic slavery. And there is a, I don't know what to call it, a dichotomy, maybe, in society. People believe that the government is responsible for fixing the ills of society. And people also believe that it is not their responsibility to ensure that the changes that they want to see in society happens. What do I mean by this? Okay, so let's say we complain about wage. Me don't have nobody with no line staff. We say, boy, might be nice, me nice. You know, obviously, well, I wish I was getting more, but it's a fair wage. I am comfortable with my salary. I don't know of anybody. And so we blame the government because it is the government that must put in the policies, and the government that must do this, and the government that must do that. Once again, addressing the symptoms of the problem and not the problem itself. Much like how the science and the medicine and the health care industry addresses symptoms and don't fix problems. That is exactly what happens in society. We are the problem. You might ask, why are we the problem? Is the government supposed to do this? I think that, you know, anecdotes are the best way to get a point across. Because sometimes when you're trying to argue intellectually, you're not going to get anywhere because people don't see your point. It's kind of like when people say let me give you an example. You're not a doctor, so you can't speak on medical stuff. And you ask them, okay, do you know what a cat is? Yes, I know what a cat is. So if you're not a cat, how the hell do you know what a cat? You're not a cat. So like, how can you have no right speaking. You're not supposed to say anything about cats because you're not a fucking cat. You see, and so you have to use anecdotes, analogies, and stories to let people see clearly the fallacies of their argument. Now, I'm going to use an analogy here. So let us say you buy a piece of land, you erect a house on that land. Build your house, nice, nice house, whatever. You tend the lawn, your yard, nice, landscape is awesome. Inside of your house, spick and span and clean and everything neat and nice. You know, like when you walk in one of those 5-star hotels and hotel room and the place turn up. That's inside of your house, and outside of your yard, it turn up. Let's say you lock up that house and you go away and left the house. And 10 years later, you come back expecting that this nice pick and span house and yard where you left is going to be the same. Remember, the house and the yard cannot tend to themselves. Moreover, if you leave your property unattended, then nature is going to take its course as well. But there are nefarious persons out there who might say, oh, well, nobody know over this, so then come tear down your place, kick off your door, come in, take away everything. Next thing you know, animal living in your place, or maybe some homeless person take over your place, or whatever, or the place rotten down, or somebody, you might come back and see no house, somebody burn it down. Anything can happen because you left it unattended. Are you following me? The government is like your house and your land. The government cannot take care of itself without your intervention. If you are not telling the government, directing the government, this is the tending to know. This is where we want society to go. And you left it up to them. They say, our government fi fix it. What do you think is going to happen? The house went rotten down. Dust and mold and insect going to take over. And the dust and the mold and the insects here represent corruption. Because you have left your house unattended. So the root of the problem is not government, it is not corruption, it is the people. Corruption can only thrive where the people have abandoned their responsibility to ensure that those that they put in charge are carrying out the duties prescribed. So if you want better wages, you must demand that the government put the proper policies in. The government is not going to do that of its own volition. Our government is corrupt because we are apathetic to what is happening in our own country. Crime and violence is getting out of hand, and we blame the government because for some reason we believe that the government can fix it. Who is killing whom? Is the government going out with guns and bullets and shooting people? No, it's not. It's citizens themselves. So if we are content to live in a society of degenerates, to foster a culture that breeds criminal, what exactly is the government going to do about it? But we're talking about economic slavery. We have been complicit in our own enslavement. Now, I know this sounds like, well, you're basically blaming us for what is happening to us. And yes, because the buck stops with you. If I own a company and I hire someone to run that company, If I keep up with fuckery, me, I have to fire him. I cannot sit by and say, boy, you know, I hired this CEO and he's running my company into the ground. Why don't you fire him? Like, why are you, like, where you complain for my lad for your place? Fire the man and find somebody else who can do the job the way that you want it to be done. You can't sit there fold your hand and say, boy, I can't do nothing because the CEO, me, I have to run the company around the company and the ground, I don't know what to do. And I'm going to blame the CEO. The government, people don't understand. Government is not an instant. There's the only reason why there's a government is because we want there to be. And clearly, if you look at, you know, it's like there has to be a central authority that is managing the affair of the entire country, people with the right expertise. Because if we left everything as is, then, you know, it's kind of like me, I'm going to be minding my business, you're going to be minding your business, and the necessary infrastructures that are to be put in place are not going to be there. And even if they are, they're going to be put in by private individuals who will decide what to do. Because if me put in the road, I can decide to charge people any much me want to charge them for run on road. And so you know, want to have a state of anarchy. So that is why you have a government, and that is why government is necessary for a functioning, civilized society. But it does not mean that as citizens know you get a free ride. No, you must actively participate in the governance of your own country. And that does not mean, oh, I go out and vote, because they have reduced our participation to the mere act of voting. What we ought to do is that there must be a mandate. There must be a mandate. So if, let's say you have a, I don't know, a constituency, right? So whatever the constituency is, there's a member of parliament. So you come run, oh yes, I'm running for MP for this constituency. Okay, the people of that constituency must look at the needs of the constituency. You have your micro, and then you have the macro. So the macro would have to do with the entire country. The micro would have to do with your constituency. So we're going to look at the immediate needs of the constituency. Okay, these are the things that we want to see accomplished when you get in there. So to me, I believe that each member of parliament should sign a contract with the people of that constituency to say that, okay, these are the things that I must accomplish over this period of over the 5 years of my pussyclat in there. And you're going to do a performance review ever so often. So you're going to come back to your constituency to report where you are in terms of progress, why you have not met any target. Because it's the same thing if you work for a company and you do a budget, you know, you do a, at the beginning of the year, you do a yearly budget. So there's one big budget, but then ever so often with a quarterly, monthly, or otherwise, they have budget meetings to see where we, because you're going to break down the budget into these increments. So whether monthly or quarterly or semi-annually, and you're going to have those budget meetings to say, are we meeting our targets? And each production department manager must give an account why they must account for any variance that arises, whether it is an adverse variance or a favorable variance, because the variance may be favorable, but it is an account of inefficiency. So the come on and then win after they win, all right, they say it up. There is zero accountability because we have not asked for any. So we want to say, all right, if for 2 consecutive reporting periods you have failed to meet your targets, and the explanations for why you have not met the targets are not justifiable. So let's say, boy, you know, COVID come in, obviously you ain't gonna meet the fucking target because it's force majeure. You know what I mean? An act of nature, circumstances outside your control that resulted in you not meeting the target. So we can say, okay, fine, we're not going to kill you for that. We can't kill you for that because, you know what I mean? These were not controllable factors. But still, we're going to look at some of the controllable factors to see what was within your control that you could have, utilized to perhaps meet some of the smaller targets or whatever the case might be. And we're going to judge you on those. And if you are weighed and found wanting, then we must now have a by-elect, because you automatically have to resign. By law, you must resign. You have to come out. So we now no longer have a representative, and there now has to be a by-election where we have to elect somebody new to fill that position, whether it is the first year into the first 6 months into the whatever, or first year or second. It doesn't matter. You have to come out and we put somebody there. But because we have a system where we have these dinosaurs that try and go in the show, so they don't win. So guess what? They have no incentive to perform. And then we blame them. If, talk truth, if you can go work Monday to Friday, don't do shit and get paid, aren't you going to do that shit? Talk the truth. If somebody hire you and you can leave your yard and go sit down, cock up your foot on the table and work and don't do nothing, and come weekend, then still have to fork out you how much $1,000 give you. You know, don't do it. Talk the truth. So why then are we going to blame these politicians? These people are in government who are supposed to be representing us when we are nowhere to be found demanding to be represented. Is when you see something happen in a society, we come out now and start to say, well, the government this and the government that. You must actively participate in the governance of your own country. Because when you become absent, that is how dictatorships are formed. You become complacent. You take it for granted that these people are just going to do the right thing. And we are seeing it now in our society where we realize that, oh, wow, well, these people realize, well, we just let them go for do what they want to do, so they might do what they want to do. And they are going to act in their own best interest. And you cannot blame somebody for acting in their own best interest. That is what people do. That is what people do. They are people. And they're acting in their own self-interest. Because we decide that we don't care. So if sit no care, Dr. Nango can either. Now, one thing that we were talking about. So, my sister said that she had, I think, she must have got quotes figure trust something. She got quotes figure trust. And, when you go to courts, you'll see, let's say you want to buy a bed, right? Don't buy a bed, of course, by the way. You want to buy a bed. So you'll see the bed, $300,000, right? So you'll see two prices or maybe three prices. You have the cash price, which is, let's say, $250,000, and then you see higher purchase, $700,000 or something of the sort. Now, when you go to the agent to say, hey, if I want to buy that bed and higher purchase, how much is it going to cost? So they're going to say, okay, so then go on the computer and they say, all right, if you buy it on higher purchase, we'll give you 3 years to pay it back. How will you be able to make the payments? You can either do weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. And based on your decision, I'll tell you how much you would pay each period. So let's say I say, all right, then I will pay monthly because I get paid monthly, or I will pay bi-weekly because I get paid bi-weekly, or I will pay weekly because I get paid weekly. Then I'm going to tell us, say, okay, so all right, then you would pay $15,000 per week, just as an example, for 36 months. Now, I say $15,000, yeah, me can pay. This is what you're saying, we can pay $15,000. That's not no big deal because maybe I get, let's say you're getting $35,000 a week. So you say, we can pay the $15,000. But it's $15,000 every week for 36 months. So what you need to figure out now is, all right, if me pay $15,000 a week for 36 months, there are 4 weeks in a month. No, sir? So 36 times 4, that's 144 weeks times the $15,000. And that is now $2.16 million. You going to end up pay for your bed which costs $300,000. See, we live in a society where the poor people are allowed to be exploited by big business because we, the poor people, are not ensuring that the government is putting policies and procedures in place that protects us. There is no way, because, okay, there is a risk element involved. Well, if you don't pay for it, they might come back for anyway, so it's neither here nor there. But let's just say there is risk involved, there is inflation, you're paying a premium to have the bed now rather than later, even though you don't have the money. Right? But here is what they don't teach you, because this is what you should do. There are 3 scenarios. I don't do economics because my brain know that I will leap a graph and chart and I can put the clock, by the way, so I never do it, but me not idiot. There are 3 scenarios. So you have to consider this as a project. Right? In one scenario, you are going to look at, let's say you have the cash now. But you go, okay, so in 3 years' time, I'm going to save this money. I'm going to save to buy the bed in 3 years' time. So you would have to look at the value of the bed now and what would be the future value in 3 years' time, compounding, right? All right, or you're going to put that money into the bank at a specific interest rate and see how much you will have earned on your money and see whether or not you will be able to buy the bed in 3 years' time. The third scenario is you take out my hire purchase and pay the $15,000 a week. And so you're going to do those 3 calculations and you're going to see which one is the better option for you. Should I buy the bed on hire purchase? Should I put the money in a bank, in an investment account? Or should I wait 3 years' time to buy the thing? They don't tell you that. And there's no scenario where the hire purchase is the better option. There is none. Because you end up paying so much more than it's the same thing that is the same thing they do with houses. You go buy a house for $17 million and they tell you, oh, you have to pay $20,000 every month until you retire, which would be at 65. And when you add up all of them, the money there, right, up to when you retire, you realize to say, but me I go end up a pay almost $200 million for the $17 million house. And if me put $17 million, in if I were to invest $17 million at the interest rate that the bank is charging me, would my money match? Well, at the end of the day, you're not going to get that interest rate anyway. But just saying, if I was supposed to invest my $17 million in an account, how much would it be valued at? Or what is the future value of the $17 million based on what you project the inflationary rate would be? Obviously, it would be difficult for you to project what inflation is going to be in 30 years, but you know what I mean? You could do a deep analysis into inflation for the past 30 years, do the year-over-year growth, consolidate those and just say, well, by then we expect that inflation is going to be here and see what the money is going to be. It is not worth it. You're ending up losing. And these are the things, so because we are peanut brain, we not think about these things. All we do, we want our house and we run bulu pop in a gap pussy class NHT and go trust house and them a charge with the blue na giant and you pay for now till a pussy class man you can don't pay for, because at the end of the day you are being economically enslaved. It's economic enslavement. And these are the policies of the capitalist society that we're living in, because our society is built upon a system of debt. So the citizens must be in debt in order for the wheels of the society to turn, because you must continue, you are a slave in the system. If you put your money, think about, right now, I owe NCB $250,000 because me and I work on me use the fucking card. My last interest on my statement, 1 month, $7,000. I guarantee you, go to NCB right now, ask them for their best safe investment account, right? Where you can invest $250,000 in, and see if you're gonna get $7,000 interest at the end of the fucking month. You won't. I guarantee you that. I have 7.5%. 7.5%. I bought equity shares in JMMB. They're preference shares, and it's a 7.5% annual yield, right? And I have a couple thousand, and it's $1,000. Something me I get for interest. So why is the bank charge me so much interest on the fucking money when me take from them, when there is no way you can put your money in the bank and at the end of the day you're gonna get $7,000 interest? You're not going to get that. If I put $300,000 in an NCB right now, at the end of the month I'm not getting fucking $7,000 interest. You're not getting no interest, as a matter of fact. Them not putting any interest on it. We are in economic slavery. These people keep taking and taking and taking, and guess what? We turn a blind eye because, one, we don't understand, and two, we do not want to understand. We don't care, and we keep complaining and complaining and complaining when it's like, it is your reticence that has caused you to be in this situation. Because you know, fucking care, them decide to say, okay, well, guess what? You left your house gone and me going to come in and take everything. And that's what they're doing. That is exactly what they're doing. So when you borrow money from them, then charge you double on a giant. And when you put your money in the bank, you literally get nothing back. And it's the same money they're taking, lending people and charge people double on a giant. This is what is happening in our society. Where it should be like, okay, well, if you're making $7,000 off of my money, NCB, I should get I should get most of that. If you make $7,000, I'm supposed to get at least 50% of that money. Because of free money, you take a lend people and you collect $7,000 off it. So where's my cut? Me need my fucking cut. But if you have $300,000 in the bank right now, I guarantee you, come the end of the month, you're not getting one red fucking cent. They're not giving you any interest. Me not ask them, they tell you they're not giving you no interest. They're not giving you any interest. If you have $1 million in the bank, maybe in various whatever, check the amount of interest where you go get for the month. Maybe you have a portion in your regular savings account, a portion in a money market account, a portion in a mutual fund, whatever. It doesn't matter where you have it spread out. Check how much interest you get on that fucking $1 million. It's not gonna come to $7,000. I guarantee you that. Owe the bank $1 million and see how much they're gonna charge you for the fucking month. Owe them $1 million and see how much they charge you for the month. Why is that? It makes no sense. Because if you have my $1 million, you're taking it and lending it to other people and charging them double on a giant for it. So where is my cut? Where is my cut? So you see, we are living in a society that is designed by our own government to keep us in economic slavery. You work from now till a man and you can't reach no fucking way, because guess what? The system is rigged against you. And we sit down and we bitch and we complain while folding our hands and doing nothing. It's the same thing that happens in the workplace. In Jamaica, The Ministry of Labor has nowhere that you can go to look at salaries. So if you're a taxi driver, well, not say taxi driver, if you're a waiter, a bartender, a security guard, a so and so, you can say, okay, let me go on the Ministry of Labor to see what the salary range is like for a security guard. So you can know what to ask for when you're going an interview, because let's say you're fresh off the block, you know, and the salary range for a security guard is, let's say, $20,000 to $35,000 a week. You know, say you're going to get probably $20,000 because you literally is a fresh security guard, no experience, just a come out of training, whatever. But if you is a veteran and perhaps you have your PSRA and whatever, you know, say you're supposed to be getting closer to the 35,000 mark. But you don't even know how much security guard get. So when you go in an interview and then tell us, say, okay, well, we're paying $15,000 a week. What you don't do? What you don't say? You can't say nothing because you literally do not know. And so what we have is a literal society of citizens that are working way below what they are supposed to be getting because they simply have zero idea what the actual job title with them have is supposed to be earning. We simply don't know, and there is no official government site where you can, because that is what the ministry of, they are supposed to be churning out statistics to say these are 1 million people employed in the hotel sector. You have how many front desk agents, how many guest services agents, how many reservations agents, how many housekeepers, how many bellmen, how many this, how many that, and what the different salary range, what the different salaries were in terms of industry. And then you can also you go from the lowest to the highest and say, this is the range for a front desk agent. So when me go apply for a front desk agent, we can say, okay, front desk agent I get between $30,000 and $70,000. So me I go look at my qualification skills, me I go look at my resume now and decide what me value. So when me go in, me can say, well, me now work for less than $50,000, my lad. Because me have my NVQJ from art, plus me have a certificate in this, plus me have 2 years experience from around this. So clearly me supposed to get somewhere closer to the mean, right? If you have a degree plus experience, you know, say you have to get something closer to what the tail end of it. You're going to get up at the higher ranges. And that is how you would do it. But you have zero information. So you work a job where you're not even they get within the pay range at all. Because how employers, what Jamaican employers do is the minimum wage they use. So okay, minimum wage is, I mean, not know where fucking they know. So if minimum wage is $8,000, as long as they pay you above $8,000, they don't care. When there is different pay ranges for different jobs. But we look on the minimum wage and say, oh, well, minimum wage is 5,700. So there's nothing you can do because I'm pay you more than 5,700. When no, I'm a front office agent, and the lowest front office agent should be getting, based on the salary range, is $30,000 a week. And you are paying me $17,000. That can't fucking work. So this is literally what is happening in Jamaica right now. People are being severely underpaid because there's a lack of information, there's a lack of research, and frankly, people don't care. And the status quo serves the government and serves the people in power. And so it doesn't matter how hard you work, you're never going to get anywhere because one, you're being severely, is not just underpaid, you know, you're being severely underpaid. And two, if you're going to, if you borrow nothing, then charge a double a giant in interest. And there is no way for you to invest anything unless you're engaged in risky investment, you're getting pennies on the dollar. The return that you're getting is well below the inflation rate. And there is no way you should be investing anything if inflation is 6%. This is what people need to understand. If I put $10 in the bank, right? January 1, me put $10 in the bank. January 1 next year, starting do them thing and say, oh, inflation was 6%. When January 1 come and me got the bank me supposed to have at least $10.60. At least it should be more. Why should it be more? Because there's an opportunity cost that the bank must pay. I am foregoing the benefit of my money now so that you can have use of it and I will have it at a later date. So you're paying a premium. So my money, if me still have $10, guess what happened? My $10 is now worth $9.40 because there was a 6% inflation. So your purchasing power has decreased, even though your money in the bank and the banker use it and I charge interest money to who is borrowing it. Your money is still sitting there in the bank, has accumulated zero. This is literally what is happening in Jamaica right now. Has accumulated zero interest and your money still there. You say, oh, well, yeah, you have $100 in the bank. No, you don't. Because there was inflation. There was a 6% inflation. So that money that you have is now worth less because inflation eats it out. But no bank is going to be, even if they give you interest, it is going to be well below what the rate of inflation is. So anyway you slice it, your purchasing power will have decreased. But nobody is teaching us these things. And we are comfortable in our ignorance because we don't want to know. Because it is so easy. Anything wrong, the government. Anything that goes wrong, we say it is the government. When it is our responsibility to hold, who is going to hold the government accountable if we don't do it? Who is going to hold the government accountable if we do not do it? Wanna tell me? Who are going to clean up your yard if you not do it? Who are going to tidy up your house if you not do it? Who are going to make your bed if you not do it? Who's going to do it for you? And even if you hire somebody to do it, it is still your responsibility to ensure that they're doing it the way that you want it to be done. You still have to have some active role in it. If you hire a man to come work your yard, you know if you watch to see what you do, to see if you work all the way the area them where you pay him to work, and if you do it good or whatever, you still, even though I know you work the yard yourself, but you still have to take an active role in ensuring that the job is done to your specifications. So why is it then that we feel that every God Almighty thing, because the government of Jesus Christ, they're not saying they're human beings just like me and you. And if nobody's holding them accountable, what the hell you think they're going to do what they want to do, which is what Andrew and him band of Mary Blood Clot men in the parliament are doing right now. They're doing whatever the fuck they want. They must sell out the country. And they're instituting tax policies that are burdening the poor. And we ball and cost government. It's not going to change. Because we have absconded our duty. The problem is the government. That's what we see it as. The government is the problem. The government, you are the problem. Because you are not willing to speak up for yourself. You're not willing to demand the changes that you want to see. And our member of parliament, the only time we see them is when election time comes. I think I must see Marlene Mala who fought round on yes, and I've never seen her in my life. I mean, I see nothing going in the constituency as far as government is. I see nothing going in the constituency. Not one ras. And them get the $50 million for the constituency fund. So what you do with the money? What are you doing with the money? All of it goes into administrative expenses. I bet if you check them financials, all of the money is administrative expenses. Then take it pay themselves. And they friend now come below. And nothing gets done. And then they work and complain because it's all a show when you see them in a parliament. It's grandstanding for your benefit. They're putting on a show for you. It's no different than going to the theater and go watch a movie. It's the same shit. It's all a show for you. For the dumb and the utterly stupid. Because that is what they see us as. because we have decided that we do not care about what is happening in our society. We leave it in the hands of the government to fix, not recognizing that the government are the stewards that we have elected to manage our affairs. And we must take an active participation in that. We have to let them know that, okay, I'm watching you, my eye is on the ball. The ball, people don't hire you and left you to your own devices. When they hire you, they left you to do what you want to do. They're watching you to see that the work is getting done, and they're checking that the work is actually. This is not what people do when they hire you. So the fuck you hire people to run the country and you left them to do what they want to do. When you get a job, do they just hire you and left you and say, all right, let me trust him, man, because your resume won't turn up, my lad. So I'm not go to, you understand? Now watch, I'm not set no ship, I'm not put down no task, I'm not do nothing. I'm just go low you to do what you want to do and ray. No, they don't. You have a supervisor, then you have a manager, then you have a general manager. So when you almost somebody they make sure say you do it, and if you're not do it until you come out here. So why is it that we hire the government to manage the affairs of the country, and government has sell where they feel like sell? People keep forgetting that the government cannot pass laws that we don't agree. Like, who are they passing the laws for? Us. So if we are a big man, you can't sell cockpit country, the argument done. Me no need to hear no more from you and to say I'm blood clot sell, sir. Argument done. Like, why are you still talking? I'm my company. And if me say I don't want, which CEO argues with the owner? Talk truth. When Adam Stewart go a one-nine property them and lay down the law, which of the general manager can say, listen to me, no, Mr. Stewart, me not fucking do this? Which one of them? None of them can do it. The boss say XYZ, him know if you go figure out and go and get the rest of the people in the organization to do it. So if Andrew come and say, oh well, we're gonna sell the cockpit country, and we say, well, sir, you know, go sell, the argument done. Me no need to hear nothing more from you, Andrew. Andrew say, oh, we're gonna do needs, and we're like, we don't do no fucking needs because this is a mark of the beast, and we know, you know that. What the conversation for? There's no point in you going into parliament and have, you know, need for the beer, we don't want it. And we put you the big man, and if we're saying we don't want something, the argument's supposed to stop, because me don't know if nobody who know when they talk who they I can't tell them say they not pussy clout. Yes, you can, but they might tell you, wow. The government works for the people. So why are we complaining about it? Why are we complaining about the government? Why? We have a responsibility. If they're not doing what we want them to do, it's this spot. That's how it's supposed to go. I mean, it is just that simple. No, I don't know much about the politics and what is the procedure for getting these people out before their terms. I don't know, even though I sincerely believe that the people should reserve the right to remove anybody, any elected representative. If you, me don't know, maybe if you get certain amount of signatures to say, hey, we don't want this pussycat man to represent us, you sign it, get the petition, you sign it, send it in, effective immediately, come out. I don't know if we have that here. I know in the States, I think they do have that, where, you know, people sign petition, they have a pussycat, as long as they get the required amount of signature, all right, so you have to come out. But in Jamaica, we have to wait 4 years with these fuckers. Like, and then it doesn't, you know, make a difference because people still vote for, like, okay, Portia did the portion and Portia have 17 years with a constituency which you know do nothing for. How does that make sense? And we're blaming the government. I don't understand. It is our responsibility. Put a government in there that is going to do the things that you want to be done for the country. JPS should not, we have one light and power company in the entire country. It should be nationalized. This is an essential commodity. You cannot outsource it to more over there, not even Jamaicans. So that makes it even worse. I think it's a Korean company that fucking owns majority stake in JPS. So how the hell you think, say, because you're still subsidizing it anyway, so it's neither here nor there. It don't make no sense. Because the government is subsidizing JPS. So as much as we like bill high, it is being subsidized by the government. It is. So can you just imagine if it wasn't? With the ball, I remember say, we don't pay tax on a certain amount neither. So can you just think about that? There are certain things. It's the same thing with the the 1 airline that we had, them wreck it because them use it for run drugs and all sort of city. There should be a national air. Now they sell it to Trinidad, I think. Caribbean Airlines is now owned by Trinidad, I think. Right? These things should never have happened. And the government is selling out the private lands to foreign people, to foreign governments. The roads are not owned, the highways at least, are owned by foreign entities. If we don't own any assets, if we in the country and we don't own the country, what do you think is going to happen? Because you're paying interest. You're paying to use these things. So it simply means that it's going to be a tough economic situation because your government is paying over money to these people. And it has to make those payments. Obviously, you can default on it and there's nothing that they can do. But at the end of the day, unless you have reached a state where you can be economically sufficient, which we haven't, then you're going to find yourself in a problem. And I think every single government in the world, food security should be the #1 priority. You shouldn't have to be importing anything from anywhere because food is one of the most essential things that you must have. And if you're relying on imports, you got a problem. No, for the stuff that don't grow here or live here or whatever, those are things that we can do without. Because if there was no, let's say, sea and air transportation, we would have to survive in it. And we were surviving before air and sea transportation comes into place. So those are luxuries that we can do without and does not, in my view, have any impact on food security itself. It is time. And I think now we as the younger generation has to start that change so that the next generation can carry the baton because the generation before us dropped the fucking ball. They did. They did. We are in a different kind of slavery. So we come out of one and jump in another. And the sinister thing about this one is that, oh, well, you don't really have the shackles. But can you afford not to work? No, you can't. So you live in a society where the basicness needs things that you need to survive. Unless you are work like a bitch, you will not have access to them. How does that make sense? And even when you're working like a bitch, you can barely afford them. How does that make sense? It doesn't. The buck stops with each and every Jamaican. If you want to see the crime rate go down, starts with you. If you want to see corruption in the government gets weed out, it starts with you. Who are the corrupt politicians? Right now, if you were to make a list, who are those people? Get rid of them. It's just that simple. It is literally that simple because there are people right now who will fill those places. And you enact a rigorous, I don't know what you call it. There's a different set of laws governing parliamentarians in terms of their conduct and such. I don't remember what it's called. Or integrity act or whatever. Me don't know. Some outside of the Constitution. Because remember in the US you have these stringent laws that, senators and these elected, like as much as, the system. But if people really say, hey, they can get rid of a governor or they can get rid of them. The law is there, they can get them out. But in Jamaica, it's like you have one corrupt somebody a galang for 50 years, PJ galang in the till he retire, and nothing was done. And he was one of the corrupt ones. And he retire and I get Prime Minister salary. Because for them, how him set it up is that whatever the salary is, that's what they are getting. How the fuck does that make sense? If I retire, is the government going to be paying me what my salary was? If me retire, me have NIS, can me pay NIS from me what, 17? And me reach 65 and retire. Because if I reach 65, I'm fucking retiring. Now go, you know, me say me now go come out of retirement, but I'm retiring because no one have my money. Yeah, that's how you do it. Retire and then you do sitting on the side. Right? So you because I don't think at that point the tax, they'll charge you less tax and any income that you're earning anyway. Right? Because you pass retirement age. Him still gets what, $7 million a year, the Prime Minister get, Andrew. So PG I get him 7 million too. Which part? Anybody who can retire or they get the same pay when they get. Which part then do that? So why is the Prime Minister enjoying that benefit when the regular citizens aren't? That doesn't make any sense. No. At one point, you probably could argue that, well, you know what, they were a public servant and it is, you know, to incentivize people to aspire to those positions, to serve us selflessly. But they have raped and pillaged the country enough. They have filled their coffers and the backs of Jamaican people. Them not deserve anything more. In crepe enough, you get enough already. And you're still craping. And that is the reason why you see Peter Phillips when galang, because he thought they would have won. And then he would have been Prime Minister. And then he would have cited health concerns and resigned within the first year and it over to either Lisa and our what the other old fat name, Philip Palwell. One out of the two of them. That's what he was going to do. Because Andrew had set the precedence when he get the 3 months Prime Ministership. Remember that time when they were house Bruce and at 3 months Andrew went in the fan, he never win back. He fight in that small window of time. He say, hey, me a Prime Minister, so me deserve me pension. So he ensured that whether he became Prime Minister or not, after that 3 month stint where he was Prime Minister in Bruce's stead, he would get the pension when he retires. So Peter Phillips was hoping for that. But it never worked out. It never worked out in any favor because he would know him probably not retire and being paid as a Prime Minister. That's what he was intending to do. We have to take responsibility for what happens in our country. We have to look at the other countries that have a functioning republic or functioning civilized society and see what works for them. Look at their laws. The American system of governance was, expertly crafted. I don't know how these people way back in 1776 did this shit. Had that, and these were young men. They were like 23, 25, 30. They weren't old people. How the hell them come up with a constitution like that? And we are now in 2022, and we still live under fucking Queen Elizabeth, no King Charles, who have pushed climate fuckery, which doesn't exist, is not a real thing. We can't form a republic for the people. Because make no mistake, what is happening in America is also as a result of their own reticence, their own complacency. So it now becomes a very bureaucratic. And people forget that these laws that they pass, it doesn't matter what kind of law the Constitution is the supreme law. It doesn't matter what other else law you pass, if it contravenes a constitutional right, then the law must be abandoned. You can make a law that takes away you can't do that. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. So if it doesn't matter whether it's tort law or any kind, it doesn't matter what kind of law they make. If you realize, oh, but well, this is infringing on my constitutional right to move. So when they say, oh, you must lock down, like, by right, if you want to go where you want to go, it's like, I feel me, my lad. Okay, fine, I hear what you have to say. I am, okay, fine, but I'm exercising my right to freedom of movement. And the argument's supposed to push it apart because you're not supposed to put in any law. Because basically, when they do these little things, it's kind of like, it's a strong, so I'm strongly suggesting that you stay home because COVID out there. It's really supposed to be that. It's not supposed to be, you go have police take me to, you can't do, them not, it's illegal for them to do that. But the thing is, they can get away with it because people think that just because something is happening means that it is right, it is allowable, or whatever. I can kill you if nobody's going to arrest me. Like, think about it. If police decide, say, okay, we're not arresting murderers, somebody do you think you kill them? But that doesn't mean that you're right. That doesn't mean that what you did was legal. The law is just not working right now. So not because they were restraining people, you know, saying, oh, if we catch you out at 10 o'clock, we're going to arrest you. Yeah, we can arrest you because who's going to do anything about it? If nobody's going to do anything about it, we can do whatever the fuck we want. I can come in your house and take your stuff if nobody's going to do anything about it. I can shoot you in the face in broad daylight in front of everybody if nobody's going to do anything about it. That doesn't make it right. And this is what we keep forgetting. People think that just because something is allowed, slavery was legal. Literally, it was for 400 years. It was the law. Like literally. And if you run away, this sheriff gather people and them hunt you down. And the slave master has authority to punish you however way he or she, whoever owns you, had the authority to punish you or even murder you. And that was perfectly legal. So, not because something is written in the law means that it is legal or it is right. You have unjust laws. But how are you gonna, who's going to change the unjust law? We have to say, hey, no, you can't fucking do that. Because this little thing here, or you can agree to it, you know, you can. Because I'm like, okay, you know, we're recommending everybody stay home, and we're like, okay, fine, that sounds reasonable. But we are accepting it. We're not being forced against our will to do it. We're saying, yeah, man, COVID out there, right? So I'm going to go build back. If you want 2 weeks, I'll make it kind of settle out. You know, we can work with that because CFC and Ray. We are accepting. We have not given up our constitutional right to freedom of movement. We are agreeing that under the circumstances, it is in our own best interest to stay indoors. But if one person decides to say, well, yeah, I hear what you gotta say, but I'm fucking going about my business, they should be allowed to go about their business. This is what people don't understand. It doesn't matter what the disaster, it doesn't matter. And the court, if the courts were doing what they were supposed to do, you couldn't arrest somebody and take them to court and say, well, we found you outside of. They couldn't do anything. It's like, well, he has a if I'm asserting my constitutional right to freedom of movement, that's where the conversation ends. Your Honor, I am exercising my constitutional right to freedom of movement. Okay, well, case dismissed. This is what people don't understand, but because we know government has now become a thing unto itself, an authority that doesn't answer to anything or anyone and can change whatever law they feel like. So all of a sudden they can take away your right to life, they can take away your freedom, they can take away whatever the fuck they want to take away. And we sit there and say, oh, well, but it is the law. Who is the law? Like, what are... If me start a company, I mean start the company, so me buy one piece of land, and me build up one building, and me say, alright, then me go run a restaurant. And me make the rules of the restaurant for my employees them. Now so there's a reason why I made the rules, to make sure say, okay, my business are run smoothly and the employees them do what they're supposed to do. But I can change the fucking rules if I want. They're not set in stone. Like, I literally can just say, okay, well, we're not going to bother this, we're going to abandon the rule because we're not going to bother with it. I can. Because it's just something that we say, okay, well, we're going to do, but we can change our minds. That is the law. The only law that matters is the Constitution. Freedom of movement, freedom of privacy, you know, private property, blah, blah. Those are the only laws. Those are literally the only ones that matters. The rest don't. This is what people don't. They do not. They are there to settle disputes between parties. That's literally what they're there for. We're trying to have a fair, you know, me and you have a disagreement, and we say, all right, we have a set of laws now where you go before a judge and you say, okay, tell me your side, tell me, we're going to look what the law say, and we're going to say, all right, this is what is fair here, and you must agree to it. Because that is what, you know, it's a civilized society, and we're trying to settle our disputes in a civilized way. You know what I mean? And obviously, when people infringe on other people's rights, so if a man rapes a woman, or a man kills somebody, or shoots somebody, or whatever, it's like, okay, we have to have some consequences. No, the person who, the perpetrator is accepting because really and truly, the law don't really have no jurisdiction over him neither. You're really not supposed to lock up people, send them to jail if they don't agree to it, because you can't judge me. But we're in a civilized society, and we're saying, all right, we're going to accept certain things so that we, you know, have anarchy. That's really what it boils down to, you know. Because if I go out and kill somebody, really and truly, there is nothing that you can do, because they kill somebody, so what? But because we live in a civilized society, I am accepting that, okay, well, we don't do this in this society, and because I'm a part of the society, I'm going to accept the process by which, how do I put it now? Judgment is, well, not really judgment, but justice is meted out. But I am agreeing to it. This is what people don't understand. Me, the person who kills the other person, is agreeing to face justice in the human system. That's literally what it is. That's literally what it is. But the law really don't have any jurisdiction over the human being. You can do whatever the hell you want. Which is that we come together and say, boy, you know, if everybody do what they want, you gotta be watching your goddamn back every single, you know, every minute of every day, because a man can't come take your 3 pints, which him free for do. You understand? But we don't want to live in the wild, wild west, so we're going to agree to a set of rules, but we're all agreeing to it. We're all literally agreeing to it. It's not being forced up on us. We're agreeing to it, to say, well, yeah, we are go set in. Because when you form a group, right now, if we come together and form a group, we are going to set up rules that govern the group. That's all. Right now, if we come together and form a group, we are going to set up some rules that govern the group. Even if we never have no rules at first, over time you go realize to say, based on people's behavior, you have to start come up with a code of conduct. No, because you're like, no, in order for the group to function, we have to have some rules, because we can't just, everybody can't just do what they want to do. That's literally what society is. But at any point in time, somebody can opt out and say, listen, fuck it, I'm not going to be a part of this group anymore. You can opt out of society. You can. The problem now is that, you know, these governments, nobody owns land. Nobody, you know, own a fucking land. If me decides I don't want to be a part of society, me go find a piece of land and make it my little, this is my little piece, and me figure out how me I go live and survive. Nobody is supposed to trouble you. You should be able to opt out of society and not be governed by any laws and any rules. People don't know this. Or people forget this. You should be able to opt out of society and say, I'm supposed to be able to do whatever the fuck I want. We make all the excuses that we want. Because they're convenient. And they make us procrastinate. And next thing you know, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years have passed, you're looking in the grave and nothing changed. Because all you did was make excuses. And there are a constellation of factors that have brought us to this state where we are just content to just sit back and complain. There are a lot of reasons why we have become like this. But we as the younger, I'm not talking to the old because we can look to the older generation for no help, right? Them are cement. They not move. It's the people that are under 40 right now. We have to take charge. Because if we don't, these people are going to kill us. They are. Whether wittingly or unwittingly. Because it's kind of like if the ship is heading to an iceberg, the captain on the ship don't say the ship is heading to an iceberg. And you say, what you think I go up? You go and ram your clot right in there. You have to go mutiny, dash off in clot, and turn the ship around. Because if you're like, oh my God, it's the captain's job, big man, we head into an iceberg. Whether the captain's job or not, the captain's job is neither you're the pussy, it does not change the fact that we're on a collision course with a goddamn motherfucking iceberg. What are you going to do about it? You see where you go to about it. We are heading into another, this time, so we are in slavery, economic enslavement, mental enslavement, there are no shackles. So we feel we have the illusion of freedom. They're bringing back physical slavery. That's what they're intending to do by 2050, the latest. Bringing back physical slavery. Where you now know, say, you are a fucking slave. So it's no longer mental emancipation. It's no longer mental slavery. You're literally a fucking slave. Like Nani and Ems were, that's where they're trying to bring us back. Make no mistake about it. So you're going to know for a fact that you are a goddamn slave. It's not going to be a philosophical debate anymore because, you know, if you're talking about mental slavery, it's a philosophical discussion because you can't see it. You know what I mean? But you can have a back and forth. When you're in chains, we don't if you have a back and forth, they are so and they might whip you back and we have a pussy clad tile. Right, that's what they might try to bring us back. And we will be used for their own amusement and their own merriment and to ease their own boredom. And it sounds far-fetched, but you need to stop and think and look at what is happening in our society now and see where are we headed. Are we heading to prosperity? Are we heading into a dystopian future? And who is going to stop it? The government? It's the government leading us there. So we're looking to the people who have been oppressing us from day one to liberate us. How does that make sense? The very people who are oppressing us, who have bound us in economic and mental slavery, who have been miseducating us for the past however many or 500 years, they are the ones that we're looking to solve our problems, to right their own wrongs, make it make sense. Jamaicans have become too complacent. Like the warrior spirit gone, most of us grew up with no man in the family, in the household, to teach us how to be men. They are feminizing men because it's the men that generally revolt and stand up and push back and protect and do all of that. But if the whole of them flary and safi and don't have a mind of them don't and dumb and what, because if you're looking at society, I am literally working on a team right now of everybody is the only man on my team. And there are about 10 people on the team. I am the only man there. And in the entire unit, 2 men in there, me and one other guy. Everybody else a woman. Where are the men? What are them fucking dons? And a choppy line. And a bleach. And a walk with them pants and them caca. The change has to begin with us. We cannot keep saying the government, the government. Yes, the enemy will do what the enemy does, which is try to tear you down. But if you sit there and you're not defending yourself and you're complaining, Lord, me don't know what me do them, they can get you. They're trying to kill us. They're trying to feminize us, make us into women, talk, say masculinity is toxic, say this, say that. Oh, you can't, you know, as a man, you don't have a voice, you're not supposed to, you know, every time man talk is a problem. Because all of a sudden now, all these issues is like, well, you're a man, you're not supposed, I can't, this guy said to me, oh, we're talking about abortion. He's like, well, I'm a man, and I don't have it, me say me is a blood clot man, and me have things to talk. So if you is a man, and you don't have to shut your fucking mouth and allow me to speak. I don't need to hear, because what you're saying, what you're doing is, you're trying to gaslight me because I have an opinion. Don't fucking do that. I'm a man. I'm going to check your ass. I have an opinion. You don't. Keep your fucking mouth shut. I don't need to know that you don't have an opinion. I don't know that. I know why I have an opinion. Because this affects society. And I am a part of society. And insofar as I'm a part of society, I am going to have a voice. Plus, there is the hypocrisy. And I don't do hypocrisy. So you can't be telling me that, if just the irony, you're telling me what to do by saying I shouldn't tell you what to do. Think about it. Me not supposed to tell you what to do, but you're telling me to shut up. You're telling me what to do. That is hypocrisy. Men don't get an opinion. Okay, you're telling me that I cannot have an opinion. Who gives you that right? There's an inherent hypocrisy in that statement. And people are not, because they are so dumb. They are so misguided. They're so out of it. They don't even understand. You are telling me what to do while telling me that I can't tell you what to do. How the fuck does that make sense? Where does that make sense? It doesn't. But this is the society that we have found ourselves in. We have a society of people who are miseducated, uneducated, and content to be. And the contentment, the comfortableness with ignorance is the most dangerous thing that we face right now. People are content to just be ignorant about an issue. We have to wake up. And it starts with one person. You don't have to go change the world, you know. You change your world. It starts with you. Just like I said, you know, you go to the supermarket and you're like, oh, you have to wear a mask. You ain't wear no fucking mask. And you take past them and you're going there. That's where it starts. And if everyone resolves to do that, that's where the change begins. The government is not going to fix our problem because the government is the cause of the problem. So we have to fix the problems. It is just that simple. What is it that you want? What kind of society you want to live in? Think about the society that you want to live in. Okay, now that you have thought about it, begin to cultivate that society. What are the tangible steps that I can take to move us towards that society? And it is every citizen's responsibility to take those steps. It's just that simple. Our life is our responsibility. Our society is our responsibility. Whatever is happening in our society is collectively our responsibility. We should not be pointing the finger anywhere else but here. You want to see the change, you be the change. Let it start with you. Take whatever steps that you need to take to move society into the direction that you want it to go. And if everyone is actively doing that, in 5 years' time, you will be surprised at where we are. It's a whole new Jamaica, but guess what? Everyone is content to complain. I find myself in hot water every day because I am just not doing what everyone is doing and following along, and you know, I am rough. I don't give a shit because I'm like, and guess what? They bend to my will. This is what people don't understand, because they know that they're wrong. So they will, okay, me let you in, and oh, me a bag. That's what they do. So them let, because you decide, you can't stop me from going to my land. And they let you in, and the next person will come and say, you can't go in there. And they're like, okay, fine, no, and then gone. And they're looking at, so oh, you let him in? Because he asserted his fucking right. It's just that simple. But what? Everybody are wait for somebody to come save them. Jesus is coming to save you. No, don't worry. He did save Nanny. He did save Sam Sharp. He did save George William Gordon. He did save Paul Bogle and Ems. God did save them. Did he not? I'm sure he did. I'm sure I read it somewhere. God saved those people, the Harriet Tubmans and the what was that dude from the Kojos? Yes, God saved them. I'm pretty sure somewhere in the history, it said God came down and assisted. So he's coming to save you too. And on that note, I'm gonna leave it right here. And if you don't take anything away from this video, take this. The society that you want to live in begins with you taking the tangible steps that you should take to move society in that direction. Have a good day.